Namaste, yogis. Welcome to the Meet a Yogi with our guest today, Krishnanand Mahadevan. Welcome, Krishna. How are you?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you for joining me. He's coming in from Chennai, India. And Krishna was a star of a 70-episode yoga TV show in India. He is a certified advanced yoga teacher in the Sivananda style. He has also twice completed the Sivananda Sadhana intensive course, which we'll be talking a little bit with him today about that program. He has twice completed the Sivananda Sadhana, I am repeating myself, reading off my notes. And he also visited the Sivananda ashram in Quebec in 2006 and 2007. Currently, Krishna is working on a book that helps people to develop safe, healthy, and mindful, dedicated practices. In addition to yoga, Krishna is a serious student of the Bhagavad Gita as taught by Vedanta Guru Swami Paramathananda. Currently, Krishna is limiting his teaching practice to a few private sessions and focusing on his own life of contemplation, which is what we're going to be talking about today, about Krishna's practices right now of contemplation in his life. So thank you so much for being here. I have known you, Krishna, for over 10 years, I believe. 10, 12 years we've been talking. We met when I was the moderator of the Moving into Stillness discussion board. And we have really been friends through email, and we've had a few phone calls and things like that. I'm so happy to share you with the group and share what you've done. I would love to learn a little more about just your background in yoga. I briefly gave this bio. Can you tell me a little bit about you? I know you began teaching in 1998. So tell me a little bit about your history.
Yeah, so I would say 97 was the day, the year I formally started my yoga practice. And coincidentally, it also happened to the day, it was, I still remember, July 14th, which was the day of the Mahasamadhi day of my Guru Swami Sivananda. It's the day he passed away. So it was like a divine call, I took it. So it started just like everybody got interested into yoga. I also just got into it. But then the practical aspect, but before coming into yoga, I was sort of interested in spiritual matters, right from my young days. So I used to read a lot from Swami Chinmayananda, J. Krishnamurti, and all those. I used to read a lot. So they used to give me some very good things, but what does it mean practically? I could not figure it out. Something, they were talking about some higher purpose, which I found in my surroundings, it was not. I mean, in India, we were, I won't call it very spiritual, very religious life, but that was not answering my questions. It's like all the books were talking about something which I could not relate to me in a day-to-day life. So only when I got into the yoga practice, so that's what I could feel something, this energy flow, that sort of thing, that energy work I was able to relate to. And at that time, I had some wonderful teachers who were coming from abroad from the Sivananda organization. They were trained by Swami Vishnu Devananda. So just brief about the Sivananda organization.
So they were trained by Vishnu Devananda. Yeah. He's quite a well-known yoga teacher. And Vishnu Devananda also, he was in the United States as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was called as a flying yogi. So he used to drive his own aircraft. Yeah, right. So he was, So he was quite popular in the 70s. And he started actually laying the seeds of the Hatha Yoga, the physical yoga movement in the West. Then only B.K.S. Iyengar came, the structural yoga, then Ashtanga came later. So this was like a foundation. So Swami Sivananda had many teachers, students were popular in their own. Swami Vishnu Devananda was one, which I followed that school. It's headquartered in Quebec, Canada, and they have branches all over the world. Even in New York, they have a ranch in New York.
Yes, Sivananda Yoga was very popular here in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And at the time that I first started practicing in the late 80s, early 90s, many of my teachers had a background in Sivananda, and the other big popular style was, there was another one that a lot of people had practiced around that time. Of course, Iyengar was getting popular, but in the 70s, it was like Sivananda, and I'm trying to remember what the other big style was. It'll come to me. But anyway, yeah, it was one of the ones that was big in the 70s, and it still has many people who follow Sivananda in many centers. I believe there's one in Florida as well.
Yeah. It's that. And today, all the big yoga teachers, be it they from Iyengar or Ashtanga, you'll see the foundation would have been, they would have started the journey from the Sivananda. So then they would have graduated and moved. So that's an evolution. And what I found unique about that was, it gave me a practical feeling about what it means to be. Swami Vishnudevananda, one thing he was very clear when he started the movement, it's not going to be another cerebral, sort of yoga where you're going to discuss, keep running through meanings and all those. He felt that was what happening. He wanted some transformation in the person. So you can read Bhagavad Gita, you can read the Yoga Sutras, you can discuss the meanings and debate and all. That's fine. But what does it mean on a day-to-day basis? Are you bringing some changes in you? Are you bringing, like, say, more physically, we have to move the body. So he started with the body. So do the asanas. So he simplified the entire yoga into 5 basic points called proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, proper diet, and meditation. So these 5 things, if you're doing these 5 things,
what was the first one again? Because there was a little bit of
proper exercise is asanas. Then breathing is the pranayama. Then relaxation is the yogic way of relaxation. So what we mean relaxation means when you come, we switch on the TV and watch or take a drink and not that sort of. So it's that conscious yogic relaxation called Shavasana, Yoga Nidra in a different way. Then proper diet. So that's also, you have to be very conscious of it. You can't be practicing yoga and taking some other diet. You have to take diet that nourishes your body and soul. And you also slowly have to be sensitive. So you become more organic, whether these are processed, all those questions. So you start, even if organic, it's a bit expensive, you try to get it rather than something, or you support this community. So I became more sensitive slowly. Of course, the diet changes took a long.
Did you actually get to study with Vishnudevananda?
No. I didn't have, because he had passed away by the time. So, but some of the teachers trained by him.
I see.
So they were coming, and teaching us when I was doing. They used to be visiting teachers. And one thing I was amazed was this. I had to share that what really, if you ask me one incident or 2 incidents, which really made me, this is my future, was one of the teachers who came from Canada. His name is and he's an Indian, but he's settled in Canada. He was one of the direct disciples.
Sorry, it broke up a little bit right as you were saying the name. So can you repeat that?
One of the teachers was my favorite teachers who kindled the spirit more of yoga in me was one devotee of Swami Vishnudevananda, was directly trained, called Prahalad, Prahlad. Okay. He's still in Toronto and Canada. He's an Indian basically by birth, but he's still there. So what amazed me was, so we had a program mentioned, these are all the visiting teachers, they just come and go and they're going for the advanced training. So I used to go to the centers like weekly, the big classes. So some 6 a.m. an advanced asana class with Prahlad. So I went. But he came from Canada at early morning only by 3:30 by flight. It's a 36 hours journey. You have to come via London, 36, and different time zones. And usually, 3:30 by the time and you come, you'll be so tired, nobody. But I found 6 o'clock, he was taking the class with full energy.
Wow.
And I asked him, what is the secret? He told, it's yoga. Yoga is, he told, what happens is, we tend to, we give all this excuse, jet lag and all these things. So you do yoga. So whenever he does this yoga to get this energy and builds the very tremendous, and he gave a class with full enthusiasm. So that was something I thought, okay, this guy has He has given me a tool. He told you just keep doing, that's the secret. That's one thing.
It's so important to see someone who embodies it. I remember the first workshop I took was with teacher Dean Lerner. He's still teaching. He's a younger teacher. And I still have this memory of him. Of course, he had this like beautiful posture, but I particularly remember that we had this break where we had some bean soup. And I remember him just sitting with his back so tall and spinning the soup into his mouth. And that was the thing that really stuck with me, was not just, the lessons in the class, but how he embodied it. Even it was a habit in his body. It wasn't just something he was turning on for the class. It was his being.
So that's one incident which triggered me that, okay, this is something, getting some answer, real answer. This is not a cerebral answer. I'm seeing a person, and this person is not some, with a big pedestal. He's just a teacher, he's just relating. We have these people, very big saints, you can't, and they have, that's one thing. And then at that time, there was a person who was Buddhist. He's actually from Korea. So he was also a teacher, but he was not a full-time, but he was teaching, he came to India for doing some research. I do not know his full name, but they call him Yun, Y-O-U-N or Yuan or something. It's like a Korean Buddhist name he had. So he also had tremendous energy, and he was not a full-time staff, but he was just like volunteering teaching.
And
I found him also
the Sivananda Center.
Yeah, the Sivananda Center in Chennai, South India. So once what happened was, I used to go, this Prahalad, this teacher, he gave me only one mantra. He asked me first, how many times a week you are coming? I told 3 or no. He told this, you have to come daily. Rain or shine, you have to come. That's man. Because I was asking him how to do certain postures. That came because I asked him some postures like the, like locust or something where you have to bend.
Yeah,
which
I
is
still can't do that one.
So he asked me, he told, I can explain to you. You will take some notes, you will take some pictures, but that's not going to work. Then only he asked, how many times? I told, I come 3 times. No, you have to come daily. You come daily, the posture will automatically come. So that was, so I started going. And then we have the seasons like this November and all, there will be rains. And I used to, at that time, I used to go in the evening classes. So not many people will come in the evenings. They'll come in the mornings, and the evenings not much. And sometimes evening will be very just skeletal, like 5 or 6 people will only be there sometime. And sometimes even power used to go. We had frequent power cuts at that time. So what happens once I came, the power was not there. This teacher had come, this Korean teacher. I told, okay, I thought the class is cancelled or something, like, he told, no, no need to cancel the class. We went up, he lit a candle. He asked me, can you see me? I told, yes, I can. He told, I can see you, that's enough. I told, but what about the others? He told, don't worry about the others. You have come for the class. I have to honor it. He told, he just told me, because I have to honor you more, because in spite of the rains or something you came. And if I'm going to cancel it tomorrow, if a slightest excuse, you're not going to come. And he also gave me a very beautiful class that day. He gave me a full. So from him, I learned that dedication, that irrespective of whether somebody comes or not, if one student also comes, give him that attention. So this 2 incidents, kindled me in the serious, because both these people were not giving lectures. They were living that thing in their own life. So that brought about a great shift in me that, okay, this has to be my, something. But I didn't have the large picture. So I was going on daily. And, of course, then there were a lot of frictions with the staff. And, usually with human beings, you have, that's fine. But I kept the commitment. And at that time, I decided, and we had some staff meetings, where they used to tell that, okay, you people you are all coming. But after 1 year, everybody drops out, maximum 1 year a person will have the enthusiasm and they will drop. Either they'll go to another yoga center or they'll shift to some other form of, fitness or something or different style. So I decided, this commitment has to be maintained. Not that I was very strong about this lineage or something, or like I'm guru worship or something, but that's something, you have to maintain. And
I like
slowly,
that your teachers were really from the very beginning telling you that you needed to have this regular practice, and it seems like that's something that's really stuck with you, you know,
yeah,
and the heart of it is to be
yeah,
devoted in your practice
yeah.
daily.
That's the plus point. But these teachers who gave me the pointers, they were not the daily teachers. They, they just come from abroad because they have to conduct the teachers training program. So they used to give the small workshops. So that was, but there were some regular teachers coming. They were dedicated, but they didn't have that much energy. They didn't have, because they were, they teach that they have to go work, family. They were sincere people. They were sincere, but they didn't have that energy. And I was really frustrated because I wanted a lot of answers. I was asking, but these people were unable to provide me with answers. I was questioning a lot. So they were just learning and mechanically teaching a class. So they were teaching, they were with good intent, but I was a bit frustrated. And not only me, other students also. But we forget the fact that these people are doing voluntary service. They were not just paid teachers where you can expect some, great things. They were just doing. So we had once a meeting, with the staff and students meeting, how to improve, and everybody were giving all the things, answers, but then I felt there is, you can keep on giving suggestions, but the only way is, like Gandhi said, be the change. So, so I decided, the only way is, if I have to bring about the change, then I have to be the change myself. So that's the time when I decided to be a teacher, because I found these people were teachers' role in yoga, not just at the higher, it's a very powerful role that brings some silent transformation in the society in a different way without lectures. And these people were not taking it so seriously. I mean, they were doing it dedicatedly, just, but they didn't have the deep passion which I wanted it to have. I won't blame them, they had their own things. So like, then I decided to be the teacher, and then I started, putting a lot of energy into, and of course, that was also learning. So that was what I became a teacher, this. Because here I found being a yoga teacher, you're able to bring about some transformation in a person indirectly, not directly. You're not giving any lectures. So I don't have to tell a person not to smoke or drink. If he or she starts practicing yoga, automatically that habit drops away. And I don't have to tell a person to relax. If he does yoga at the end of the session, he just falls into relaxation. So this is a wonderful.
That's why a teacher says yoga works.
Yeah.
You don't really have to tell people what it's about, because it works.
And I come from a culture where in India there were a lot of teachers when they used to keep giving lectures, talks, which were good, but people listen, and it's very hardly, okay, they'll say beautiful lecture, that's fine, but what does it matter to you? They'll make notes, they'll take record. I was not interested in that sort of thing, because I found that sort of thing is at a later stage. When you're, for a prepared student, the lectures are good. For an unprepared, you have to do the basics. So the basics are, you have to start moving, working at the energy level. So in yoga, only you start working with the pranic level, the prana, this energy level when you're working, so the body becomes light. And I could see the difference in me, the body was becoming light, things. But of course, I didn't have all the answers. And unfortunately, the teachers who were teaching me at the time, they didn't also have all the answers. They were just, so I started reading a lot voraciously. And the Sivananda organization, the pluses, it's a practical, minus, they were very poor on the theory. They didn't have, and they didn't focus on that sort of thing in like the way in Iyengar, or, they were not so obsessed with the asana aspect that you have to do, but like in Iyengar, they give you all the structures.
Yeah, Iyengar is very detailed on the asana.
Yeah.
Postures.
Yeah. So I started reading, and I started reading from varied sources. So I was not confining myself with the Sivananda. I was reading the book by Desikachar, which was one of the best books I have come. The Heart of
Yoga. I have to highlight. It's one of my top books. Love that book.
Yeah. And in this respect, I had to share one thing. Actually, my first yoga inspiration was Krishnamacharya, Desikachar's father. And his center was just 3 kilometers from my house. But something prevented me from going to that center. It was something, but he was my first inspiration. But then I came into the Sivananda, but I liked the Desikachar, that book was helping me get some subtle answers.
Yeah.
Then slowly, this book by Eric Skiffman, Moving into Stillness. This is what at the time only I remember.
Moving into Stillness, it's excellent.
And one of his best interviews, he had, I had taken that and I gave that copies of that interviews to many people I remember at that time. So he gave a different dimension to yoga, that stillness. So also like, I was taking inspiration from various sources. And that was a wonderful time. And it helped me also open me up in connecting with people world over. So at that time, we had most of the staff in the Sivananda organization were from abroad, they can be from Canada, United States, Germany, UK. So I could relate or interact with people from other cultures without moving out of India. So, this wonderful. So we could learn and share and so many. So this multicultural experience I got with people.
You were teaching at the Sivananda Center in Chennai, yes?
Yeah.
You were one of their teachers. You were not in residence there, though. You were,
Yeah, but I was an outside teacher. I was always an outside teacher. I used to come do volunteer service. And then the turning point, came when this TV show came. This was also, I never expected, they came. And I was quite skeptical, I've never stood in front of a camera. But then like this, like today, just, took in the plunge. And that became a very big point in my life where, certain, things like, I remember at that time I had to shift a residence to I was in a rented place. And my house owner, before this show came, he was a little bit skeptical giving a yoga teacher because I was not making that sort of money. And usually when people give rent, they want the person to be a great earning person. But then when he saw me on the television, he just felt happy. He was proudly telling my tenant is a person who teaches yoga, and that relationship I maintained for 15 years.
Wow.
So he didn't raise the rent. He told, just give whatever you want. I'm happy giving it to you. I am seeing you dedicated. So that was.
You said that the name of that show is in Tamil. Can you say the name of the show?
It's actually not the show. Actually, it's like a morning breakfast program. They have
I see. So you had a segment on a show.
So it's like then somebody will talking about health. Somebody will talk about astrology. It's like the morning. That's the thing. So this 5 to 10 minutes of clipping. So that's a show. It was in Tamil. It was in a TV called Vijay TV, which was a local. Then it was taken over by Star TV. Star channel took over that. It's called Star Vijay. So that helped me to articulate and present, then I found the power of it, one person teaching, and I found my relatives from various parts of India phoning me. We never knew about that you're teaching. So, and at the time also, I understood the power of that media, how wherever I was going on the road, people were telling you are the guy who teaches, and, it was a sort of a celebrity status I got at that time. And but that was before cell phones became much popular. It was at a quite early time. But that was a learning experience, and from that I was doing it. And then then I was putting more time on teaching, and then I was losing my own energy levels. So that was the time when I then took up my advanced teachers training in the Sivananda organization.
So I'm going to actually fast forward a little bit because I want to make sure in the time that we have that we get into about what you're doing today. And so why don't we actually pause there in your history, and we'll talk a little more about those advanced studies, because what I would love to know is in your contemplative life now. So if you could sort of bring us up to what has gotten you to now be leading a life of focusing on your own sadhana, your own practice. What led you to that, and what specifically are you doing? I know that we have talked briefly before this that you are following a fairly strict diet or doing fasting, and so I'd be interested to learn about all the aspects of your contemplative life today.
Actually, one of the reasons the incidents that put me more onto the path of contemplation was the sadhana intensive I had mentioned these two courses. These are two intensive, I won't call it a course. It was Vishnu Devananda decided that for people, when his devotees asked him, students, I mean, we don't use the word devotees, we call it students. He didn't want people to be devotees worshipping him. He wanted to be students and teachers. So they asked him, what is the secret? And how a yogi really did the practice. See, we are seeing a yoga practice that is being done in the centers. People do asanas. Something that's fine. That's for a daily. But when you're doing it intensively, what the people in the ancient times they did in the forest, or what sort of practice he himself did. He was a yogi who did in Himalayas for 10 to 15 years before he came. So he told, I'll give you a sample what I did for 2 weeks. You just follow that. But that's 2 weeks, it's compressed. It's like giving a trailer of what it's really to be a yogi. And then you can get a feel of it, and then those who are interested can keep doing it. It's called Sadhana Intensive. So nobody teaches. It's meant for people who have completed the basic teacher's training course in the Sivananda.
I've heard of similar trainings for Ayurvedic practitioners where, for example, I've heard people who took these kind of intensive Ayurvedic courses that they would do like 2-hour Ayurvedic morning rituals. And they said, in your daily life, you can't really do that every day, but doing it in the program gives you a chance to see which things are effective for you and start and be aware of them, and then you can figure out your own practice from there. So is it sort of like that?
Yeah, it is more of pranayama, where we do, it's like the course should not have more than 26 people. It's not like, you cannot have 100 people, 26 people. You are secluded. You're cut off from internet, phones, everything. They tell you to, inform you're not supposed to use any of these gadgets or go. And the diet is very strict in that. They give a diet which is, there is no salt or very, very little, just for sake of thing, or very little oil. It's just boiled vegetables they give you. And then they give an almond milk just to soothe the body. So, and then from morning to evening, we have to keep doing some pranayama. Of course, postures are done, but that's just done the basics. Then you keep on building, it's building the pranic energy level. So they keep from small rounds, then we keep on building 10 rounds, 20 rounds, 30 rounds, 40 rounds. Then so the ratios.
Mainly doing a lot of breath mastery practices, pranayama.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting.
And then the diet is also controlled. You cannot, and avoiding, they don't tell people to interact much. So even you won't be talking much. You just go have your food and then come, there is little. And nobody will be giving instruction. The morning, the teacher will just give the guidelines, and then you will have to do it on your own. It's a self-practice. Okay. So you'll be going on a thing, and they're secluded. Then there will be the usually morning meditation, and they have other rituals which keeps them. So during that time, I could feel what is this, they call it this Kundalini awakening or something which they talk, I'm not talking about, but that's, I could feel the energy flow through my nadis. It's like a current I could feel a little bit, because.
So I'm going to just decipher the language, just make sure that people who don't know this language will can follow along. So what you're saying is that the energy, Kundalini energy, means energy that travels along the energy channel that's parallel to the spine. Through the nadi, the energy centers is channels in the body. Yeah, okay. So you could actually feel energy.
Just to simplify it, there are a lot of nadis. 3 nadis are their main: Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Sushumna is the central nadi. Your Kundalini is awakened when the pranic flow, the energy flows through the Sushumna nadi. It's like a balance. So that I could feel it. I mean, I can't explain that. There's like a current. I could feel like something going through. That one, I had a feeling. Then slowly I had a feeling of body levitation. The body was just slowly moving. It's not that it's floating. I could feel that slowly it is building up, like, the flight when it just wants to go up. So this is just a trailer. I mean, nothing great about all these things, but just you could see some effects taking place. And the body was, all detox happening. My body became like a rubber, because the diet having no salt, nothing, you could do the postures with so easy. So this is again a very, very controlled, but they told this should not be repeated at home. This practice, it should be done because when you're in a home, you're in a city, you're moving with people. You cannot have this. This has to be done because
I see.
you become very introverted. But then it has the seed, so take some breaks in a year to do this, to energize yourself. This was what happened after doing that. I did it twice. So in 2009 and 2010, that was a big like burning up of like, you know, of all my past ideas about everything. So I got a new vision, like, you know, this was.
That sounds fascinating.
So it's like, you know, everything like crumbled, and it's one thing, it's amazing, but then something I had to, it's like something I had to rediscover, redraw my own blueprint or something. So what I found was, at the time was, okay, there's nothing, I was quite at the time trying to do something external to do, but then I felt, no, there's nothing external, that's fine, but then the focus should be more on internal. So I had to focus mine. So that was the vision. And then I started, because I found that, you know, there are a lot of subtle things which I had to know. And when I want to talk something to someone, one thing which a rule I had within myself was, whatever I talk should be from my experience, not out of somebody's knowledge. I can use somebody's knowledge, but unless and until I tried it out and got it, it doesn't become. So I wanted that sort of honesty from myself. I could just pretend, you know, these are the things give. So there are many minor sadhanas. That's one lesson I learned. So for which I have to devote time to get, you know, prefixed answers are fine. You can take somebody else, but that I didn't want. Second thing I found that, you know, moving away from all this Sivananda, you know, we are getting caught up in all these structures, Iyengar, Ashtanga. You know, I wanted to.
Is very structured. You know, it's the Sivananda style. There's, you know, a certain sequence of poses that you do every day, and it's a certain thing, and they have a rigid diet, and they have, you know, it's a very sort of even energy to the Sivananda practices, and they're clear on it. It is a lifestyle, and it's prescriptive in its approach. It's not really I mean, there's creativity within it, but it is there's sort of routines that they prescribe to you.
It was good for me. The first phase was good. You have to have a structure, because otherwise you'll get lost. So that phase was over for me. I felt that I'm getting suffocated in the structure. I was reading about other movement therapies, like this various other field and trace method, and all these other movements. Pilates. It was just Pilates, and, you know, Alexander technique and all these things. I was just devouring all those things, you know. I mean, beyond yoga, I was even Tai Chi. So basically then I wanted, that's which I'm focusing. Okay, yoga is fine. So if somebody still asks me, I will advise him for a beginner to go for a Sivananda or some structured class, you know, that's to start with. But basically I wanted to have those tools. See, like say in an airport, you're sitting next to me, you have some problem, you want some, I need to give you some relief at that time. I can't tell you to follow this structure. So certain relief for people, you should be able to give something beyond. And there are a lot of tools available in those things. And certain things at the physical level, certain things at the energy level, like even like acupressure, I was learning this reflexology. So these are simple techniques. You don't have to, you know, you can do your own, like, you know, massaging your hands and feet and certain things. One is this energy work. And then some movements, say my mother is 75 years. I can't expect her to do yoga, but like chair yoga, you know, she can do sitting on the chair, and these are of senior citizens. So what I felt was a lot of people there, common people, who can't spend time doing yoga the way the younger professionals do it. So they need to be taught something which is simple. And this was when I was on a visit to Punjab, a place, and my tour guide, he asked me for, he told, I'm always busy, but something, can you suggest me a small practice where I could do? I was at the time only, I used my creativity. It was 5 to 10 minutes, like sitting itself, you do. Because if you tell people to come daily to the yoga class, that's fine, that's ideal, but that's not practical. I was looking at more the practical aspects. And then there was one women teacher in the Sivananda system. She's an American lady. She's no longer in the organization, but she has also written a lot of books called Swami Saradananda. I do not know what's her original name. She has a Swami title. So she was telling that most of the yoga that it's written is written by men. There should be a feminine form of yoga. You know, it's the men and women's structures are different, though theoretically the body is the same. So unfortunately, it's the teachers of the yoga are more men, and it's more the yang style is there. So you have to bring a
the Kundalini style is really, it's very interesting in that it's more focused on the women, and they actually teach that the women are way more powerful than men. And I thought, like, who are the men who come into this? I went to a women's workshop, but I was really, it is interesting to do a style of yoga that's really specifically for women. I don't know that it's specifically for me, but it's true that, you know, most of these styles are more masculine energy. So it's nice that there was a teacher who was, you know, it sounds like you were learning different ways. So we're going to, we only have, you know, a few more minutes. So I want to hear what's happening today for you in your life.
So
out of all of these things that you were doing, it sounded like you were, you know, first of all, that you had learned this very, very structured thing, but then also that you had started to explore on your own how to make small yoga practices that were more accessible to people, so that you could teach people who are different physical fitness, different ages, different bodies, different, you know, women as well as men, adapting the practices. Now you were really at that place of mastery of yoga where you had taken your teachings and you were starting to integrate more and more and more to create your own and be able to respond to people.
So yeah, now my stage, as I said, now I'm moving towards a more open way beyond all the structure. Though I respect the structures, I respect the lineage, everything. So discovering these answers and discovering tools, simple tools. As I said, I don't have a blueprint or time frame about how long it's going to take, but I'm just recording myself doing like my own sadhana and, you know, recording my own observations. And my practices are not much on the asanas. It's more on movements. I won't use the word, like, you know, do some movements. So today, if I have to teach, I won't be teaching the same way I did in the Sivananda, where we start with the Surya Namaskar and all. So I'll be just teaching some intelligence movements. So basically, I found that the essence is you have to learn how to be mindful even when you do postures. So it's like more like, because of my reading of Buddhism and so doing more mindful yoga.
So I want to break in a little bit here, because this is really what I want people to hear and learn, is that when you become a master, when you become excellent, these movements are so integrated in your body that you understand them, and you don't necessarily have to follow that strict, rigid practice every day, or even necessarily, you know, doing the sun salutation exactly as you learned it, because now you understand the movements and you are able to follow your own energy and create, you know, do it yourself, and you're not being just clueless. You're doing it with integrity because of this foundation of structure that you had all of these years. But there's this point where you take off. A lot of people are looking for that. That's what I really want this community to be about, is how do you get to this level of mastery? What does it look like? And I think it's just so important for people to hear what your practice is, that it's not some complicated routine that you're doing every morning that's super strict. Now that that's what you did at the beginning. Now you understand it.
Yeah. So now my practice is more like, I would say, there is still a structure, a basic structure, but not more on the asanas. I'm doing more on japa, the chanting mentally, because I found, unless when I started yoga, we had this something called asana siddhi, that your mastery of asana is you have to sit in a particular posture for 3 hours. I found that that's the skill we have to learn to be with ourselves first. That's the mastery you have to. So I can do all the complicated postures and still, you know, but I would see more of the diversion. So if somebody is able to sit silently, I mean, not the lazy way of sitting, If you're able to sit and be with your own mind for an hour or so, then that's a proof of your slow mastery. And for which japa, when you do the chant slowly. So I do certain rituals, that's part of my culture, but I'm doing it more mindfully. So you would say, I would say in one word, I'm trying to create a more mindful life, like the way the Buddhists. So everything, that's like the whole day becomes a yoga for me.
So what I want to, so from what I'm hearing, let me see if I'm getting this right. First of all, you're sitting for at least an hour in silent meditation. Are you, during that meditation, doing mantra, focusing on a mantra that you're repeating silently? You're not speaking the mantra, you're repeating it in your mind as a point of focus. And then it also sounds like you are also using this mantra, the japa meditation, in your daily life. So as you're out and about and you're doing your shopping, you're in a crowd, in your mind, you're repeating your mantra. Do you use this?
I won't say. There is two things. There is a sitting meditation and this real life meditation. Sitting meditation, I do the japa because I need to have a focus. But then when I'm walking, I try to be mindful about everything which I do. When I'm cutting, because we have the sense of moving into the past or the future. So how much mindful I am. So I'm evaluating myself. I may get also angry for certain reason. I'm just mindful of those anger moments. Previously, we were taught if we get angry, you're not supposed to get angry. But I don't judge like, if I'm angry, I just watch my anger. Okay, so once you moving more into the witness state, that is what I found that real transformation comes.
Witness consciousness.
Yeah, so I can be jealous, but we have been taught don't get jealous. Now I won't use that thing. I'd say watch my jealousy. Why I'm jealous? There is something underneath that. Okay, if I'm angry, there is something underneath that anger. Just simply faking when I get angry, just laughing and fooling, that's not the way it works. So you just be more mindful. But the sitting is very important because you need to sit also to silence yourself. And I use japa, and there is a prayer, a chant, physical. First I do some louder chants, then mental chants, and finally that's a sitting part. And then when I do the walking around because I'm now in a gated community, which you do the walking mindfully or you do chanting. So I switch to chanting and mindfulness. It's not that I always keep chanting. So when I'm, standing in a grocery shop, in the crowd, previously I used to get agitated, why this crowd is not moving fast. But now I use all those movements, like the great Thich Nhat Hanh, he suggests all these mindfulness routines. So I just observe. So more like my, I would say introverted life is more towards observing myself, creating mindfulness in me such that it becomes a part of me so that I don't have to fake it or, it becomes
so you're trying to make the mindfulness really your focus. This is so fascinating to me that your current focus right now is to fully integrate a state of mindfulness into your habitual, so it becomes habitual in your life. And that is an incredible focus to have. I've not heard, I personally haven't heard of somebody who is so purposefully attending to that state of mindfulness in their daily life in the way that you're doing it. I guess there are, we think of people in spiritual communities doing it and stuff, but it's just really fascinating to me, this focus that you've taken of, trying to become very to the point where it's so integrated in you that you can take that witness consciousness just like that.
Yeah,
that would be incredible.
And that's there are two things. I don't know whether if you have the time. That's where
I want to ask you something, and we can take a little longer. It's fine with me. But I wanted to know if this chanting that you're doing, if we could stop and then just do. Could you teach us the chanting that you're doing, and we could have that as a separate short little video?
Yeah, it's the Gayatri mantra, the Gayatri.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, we'll have you show it. I love the Gayatri mantra, and we'll do that. So, but go ahead and finish up what you want to say. And then
so
let me know when you're ready, and we'll stop the recording, and we'll make it a separate little clip.
Yeah. So this, when I talk about mindfulness, there is one gap or I found, which is missing link in many of this mindfulness, is the Advaita part, which helped me develop. Because people who are doing mindfulness were also doing it mechanically, they were forcing. So that's where this Advaita teachings, Vedanta, it helped me to get me the vision, the larger vision. So the larger vision is this, the root. I mean, I'm still a student of Vedanta, so I'm not qualified to give the full thing. But what I have understood is
what is
the fundamental error.
Exactly, what is it?
The fundamental error which Vedanta talks, which was a big eye-opener, is I have all along been thinking that I am Krishna, a person who wants to improve so that the world can be improved. That's the thing. So I keep on improving myself at the physical, or I want to be rich. So I'm trying to bring in more prosperity. So but Vedanta calls this Krishna that you're calling, it's just a pseudo, it's a false entity. It's a real entity. Is who is that person who is talking this Krishna, that witness? He is the real thing. That's the consciousness, that's God. So this is a pseudo entity. It's just a reflection. So don't get trapped in it. So you can improve yourself, that's fine, but there will always be, you try to improve, you find a gap. You can never fill that. So the self-improvement, either at the body or at the mental level or through experiences, will always be limited. You can never, because that's a reflection. So you have to own up your larger identity, which is the self. So that's your real nature. So if somebody abuses me, I don't have to get really angry. Of course, notional anger I can get, but I have to always move to the witness level. So that's the like Vedanta provides. That's a theory, but mindfulness is the practice which brings it about in day-to-day life. Wow. And there is a mistake that people, you can also get angry. My Vedanta teacher tells me, it's not that you're going to be, you will get moments of anger. You will get moments of desperation. You will get moments of everything, emotions will be there. But at the witness level, all these will come down a little. So in a day previously, if I say in a day, morning to evening, I will have 10 minutes, I will get angry, means now it will come to 2. It won't be 0, but it will be 2. Or I'll have an intelligence control over that anger. The intelligence will keep. So those sort of things. So that insights into Vedanta, which is too big to be talked about, which I'm studying properly also.
Yeah, well, I think that the Vedanta would be a great conversation for us to have in the future. That's just focusing just on Vedanta and on that. What I'd like to do is kind of, wrap this up. Is there anything else that you want to say? And then we'll pause and do the Gayatri mantra.
Yeah, see, I just feel that, I mean, just like an advice for people who are at yoga, teaching, just focus on the sadhana. I mean, I always make it is not a good thing as a career, so I don't give career advice for yoga teachers. But definitely I felt sadhana for yourself is great for yourself, not only for yourself, for your family and for your community. So don't get, desperate that you're not being successful in the world outside. That's fine, that is that. But definitely each yoga teacher carries this positive energy and they just keep spreading. You do not know the effect. This cannot be quantified. This cannot statistically proven. But you have a powerful energy like seeds. So that world needs very desperately these sort of people. So you're doing your work, keep it up, and that's the thing. And try to have like-minded, like satsang, small, like even we are having right now a satsang, that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be 100 people. Small community, it can be in your rooms. So everything which is just small, I mean, I'm focused more on the quality of the thing, not on the big thing. So don't spend unnecessary time and energy trying to, for the outward success. Just go.
Well,
You can
I think it's fascinating to hear too that you had this opportunity to sort of, be the superstar yoga teacher because you had this platform and TV show. I mean, you could easily have gone and chosen the route of fame at that point. And I think it's so fascinating to hear that it was possible for you to say, okay, that was great, and I was able to reach a lot of people, And now I'm focusing on another thing, which is on individually and in small groups connecting to people, and just a totally different shift. I think a lot of people are concerned that if they were to have that level of fame, that they would get so sucked into it. And what I hear you say is, it was great and it was wonderful, but then you shifted away from it, and it wasn't so compelling in and of itself for you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's stop this recording, and then we'll get on, and you can teach the Gayatri mantra, which would be lovely. And then I hope that everybody enjoyed this. I want to let people know, please subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button. We will be putting links below to the Sadhana Facebook group, to the Sadhana catalog, and the YouTube. If you're in the Sadhana community and you're watching the replay, it's up above. And I really appreciate it if you set your notifications to all. That way you can see everything that happens in the Sadhana Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, please join us. And Krishna, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any links that you want to share, we'll be putting those in the YouTube description so that you can find more about Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Back in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.